In the gas can.
Really close.
Put my glasses in the gas can.
Put my glasses in the gas can. The gas can wasn't fast can. Fast can. Welcome into the Rowdy Studios. Today we're talking Kansas. My name is Bass Masters. This is Buzz Cutler. What do you think when you think Kansas?
I think corny as Kansas in August.
I think everything's up to date in Kansas City.
They've gone about as far as they can go.
Yes, they have. But when it comes to the racetrack,
we're going there for the summer for the first time, right? We've not been there in June before, and so you got an already slick racetrack in the heat of the summer. You got to expect it's going to change things up a little bit, make a slick track even slicker.
Well, that is what all the drivers say. They say this place is slick. It's not a fast racetrack. I mean, it's got a good amount of speed, but as far as the sensation of speed, it's not like a Texas or an Atlanta or even a Chicagoland, which it looks very much like and is probably most similar to. Kansas is a little different.
It's fast. It's fairly slick. It's a difficult place to get around. It doesn't really race like your typical mile-and-a-half tracks. I think that's just because of the grip level, there, and it's hard to hook the bottom. It's hard to get up top and find grip and try to find the momentum way around the racetrack, find new grip. So it makes for a fun race. It really does.
That says to me you got to have a good handling race car.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about this track is while it's slick, it's also wide and there are a lot of racing grooves. And so you might have the luxury to be able to find which of those grooves works best for your car. Specifically.
You know what? Let's be honest, though. Track position is going to be huge, isn't it?
It is a downforce
There's no way. Seeing what we saw at Charlotte, where there's plenty of grip. Now you go to a slick racetrack. Well, that downforce, isn't it going to be that much more valuable? Am I crazy?
No. Well, yes, but not about the point you're making.
I think if you've got a good race car and you can get yourself out or close to the front at the end of the race, you're going to have a good advantage. Conversely, if you have the fastest race car in the field, but you find yourself somehow stuck back in traffic, you're going to have a problem on Sunday.
Yeah.
You're going to have a problem.
What's also interesting about this racetrack is because we've only really gone there once a year for the past 10 years, Martin Truex in Michael Waltrip Racing's pre-race video said, things change so quickly in this sport that going back from year to year, we can't really build on what we did the previous year because everything's changed anyway.
It's one of those tracks that we've only went to once a year, and it's tricky because of that. The cars and the teams and everything we do evolve so much from year to year that every time you go to Kansas, everything's completely new.
So it's almost as if they're going to be starting from scratch to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, the way they build the cars, the basic setups that they have, those are so different. Now you go to a track you haven't been to in a year, you can't exactly go back to your old notes. So that is a very interesting point. Now let's talk about drivers for a second.
Yes,
because
let's.
If you look at the averages, and I know you've got them right there on that piece of paper, the track screams Greg Biffle. I mean, it absolutely screams, yells, hollers, it jumps up and down and stamps its foot and says, Greg Biffle!
Yeah, his average finish is 8.1, which is the best amongst the field. But
Did you just hang your spectacles on the gas can?
It's a glasses can. But right behind him is Jeff Gordon at 8.5. But
they each have 2 wins, but Jeff's came in the first 2 races.
The first 2 races, right. Exactly right. Just like Clint Boyer has a good finishing average here, but his 2 top 10s came in his first 2 races at Kansas, and he hadn't been very good of late.
Yep.
I think you're clearly talking about Greg Biffle or Jimmy Johnson, also a guy who has 2 wins.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you talk about coming back to a track we haven't been to in a year. We're coming there in the summer, which is different. You want a driver that has a good feel for the track, that knows what he wants the car to feel like. Now, they may have to do different things to get the car to feel like that, but when you have a driver who knows what he wants the car to feel like, that's a big advantage when you're trying to figure a place out. So I like Greg Biffle.
Yeah, now I said Jimmy Johnson has 2 wins. Let me correct myself. He has 1 win here.
Yep.
The other guy with 2 wins is Tony Stewart.
Right.
But the way Smoke has been running of late, and he's basically admitted that Stewart-Haas Racing is struggling, it's hard to put your money on Smoke, even though he likes a slick racetrack in the heat of the summer.
And looking at Charlotte, which again is pretty different from a mile and a half, but it is a downforce track, you got to ask yourself a question: do the Fords have an advantage here?
Do the Fords have an advantage here? I guess conventional wisdom is that they would have an advantage here. It's not as if the Fords have been as dominant here.
No, this
as
isn't
they have.
like a Michigan,
exactly.
a place like that. But Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, neither one of those guys has a win here.
No, but Carl
finished
Edwards,
second
he came
on
close.
Yeah, boy, that bonsai move was a sight to behold. I think you could expect to see those guys at the front.
Yeah,
too.
Matt Kenseth has not been great at this track. I mean, he's struggled at this track. I'm not willing to put my money on Matt Kenseth. Again, I really think it comes down to Jimmy Johnson or Greg Biffle.
That's probably the way it looks to me, too. All right, that has been your Rowdy.com Big 3 for today. For Buzz Cutler, I'm Bassmasters. We will see you next time right here on the website, right here on the program, and after Kansas to talk about what happened and just how we were wrong about everything we just said.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.